Both me and my co-founder have no background in construction. He was getting his house renovated in Berlin and he had a horrible experience. We sort of took it as a project ki, had we planned as good educated people, what would have been the difference?
So how did you fix that human problem on the ground?
So human problem on the ground got fixed is we removed the contractor from the equation. Work is being done by the smaller SMEs and intermediaries. So this middle level is taking huge amount of money to badly manage everything.
So you started managing.
Yes. So we are no longer a take rate company. We are a contractor.
How have you chose to engage in the relationship with the smaller guys?
Very important to understand the psyche of the last mile labor. There are two problems which defines the labor problems in India. The first problem which labor is trying to optimize for is somebody gives them 30 days of work, and the second is somebody pays them on time.
With these optimizations, does this mean that your margins over time will keep increasing?
So margins over time will...
So I am here today with Shivam, co-founder of MyGenie.
Pleasure to be here, sir.
Thank you for coming, Shivam, on a Sunday. Shivam, what does MyGenie do?
We have this phrase in Hindi. It's called "Hathi ke daant dikhane ke khane ke." For our clients, we do retail fit outs. We build their stores. Ab jaise, whenever you go to a shopping mall,
Correct.
you see an Adidas store, right?
Yeah.
And you would have seen some posters outside when it is closed that it's closed for renovation. So converting a bare shell property into a place where business and transactions can happen, that part is fit out.
Correct.
We do it for standardized, templatized retail chains.
Okay.
That's our Hathi ka daant dikhane ka.
Correct. That's what you do
But-
externally speaking.
Yes. But what we do internally is we are I won't say an AI company, we are a data company.
Yeah. Sure.
We collect a lot of construction related data, and little by little, what we are trying is to remove human decision making from the decision maker or a thekedar or a supervisor at site
Got it.
back to the systems and machines.
And that makes things go probably much faster and on a different cost timeline?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Timeline for sure.
Okay.
Costing little by little.
Okay.
But what it allows us to do is, generally, if you look at the construction thekedar landscape in India,
Sure.
every thekedar in India is a proprietorship company between 2 crores to 6-7 crores of annual revenue, which means they do around 30 to 60 lakhs of revenue a month, which means that they're only doing 2 construction sites at a time. That's not by accident. What happens is they're doing 2 construction sites in parallel. The moment they add a third, all the construction sites execution goes to shit. Why? Because what has to happen on site number 1, this local contractor has to go and decide ki, acha, this site we need more tiles, or the other site we need more painters.
It doesn't scale.
Yes. So the moment he's not there deciding,
Okay.
sites come to standstill. What we have been able to crack is that whatever decisions that thekedar had to make or that local contractor had to make, all those decisions are now back calculated and Uber-like instructions are given to the site supervisors. They get their instructions, they just have to execute it.
them.
They don't need to worry about materials, they don't need to worry about labor, that comes separately. And that allows us to sort of make construction less of a service and more of a factory-like process.
So let's go back to day 0 for a second or even beyond. How did you come about doing this?
So MyGenie, both me and my co-founder have no background in construction.
Okay.
We've been really old friends. We've been friends for now 34 years.
Okay.
He was based out of Europe. I was based out of India. And he was getting his house renovated in Berlin.
Okay.
And he had a horrible experience. So what happened was that the contractor said his house would be renovated in 3 weeks. He called his parents from India, Grah Pravesh ke liye. Wo log aaye, they stayed in the Airbnb for 2 weeks. They went back. He never got the house. His daughter's first birthday was celebrated in the Airbnb and not in the, and he was fuming out of his mind. And every day we used to talk. We are like brothers. Ki, yeah, this is not done. How can this be? I am standing here. I can see with my naked eye that this is how the thing should be structured. Why isn't he doing it like this? And then we sort of thought of this as an optimization problem. We never intended MyGenie to be a business based out of India, let alone a VC-backed business. We sort of took it as a project ki, had we planned as good educated people, what would have been the difference? And we picked a couple of projects where we tried to sort of set up what activity happens when by ourselves. And then we realized that, yeah, this is a pretty solvable problem. The only thing stopping is the guy on the other side cannot mentally, even if you get an Einstein to stand on site, he won't be able to make so many decisions that, okay, this activity is dependent on this activity. If I have to close the ceiling, then the electrical conduiting has to be done. That has to be closed before that. But for the electrical conduiting to be done, the wire and the wire path has to be there in the SLD. There are so many permutations and combination that it goes out of the human capacity to plan optimally.
Correct.
Then everybody,
So even, sorry, you're saying even the best planned sites, let's say, are probably
there's a
ad
difference.
hoc.
So there's a difference. If you're constructing this building, that's a 3-year project. That would have a huge team of architects, designers, quantity surveyors who would plan for 3 months and then move to execution.
Got it.
Now, what happens is, for these smaller sites, for example, we do a retail fit out for, let's say, a Chaayos or a CultFit gym. That's a 60-day project. That's a 60 lakh rupee project, or basically 50,000 INR, 50,000 US dollars project. For that, there is no sort of planner, engineer who is going to do 15, 20 days of planning for 45 days of execution.
Exactly.
So everybody in this industry just wings it.
Sure.
That it is now based on sort of thumb rules. Let's start with the civil activities first. Once this is done, then we put the electrical manpower, then we put the painters, and it's just based on that.
And I know you use data, but how did you approach this problem first? Like, was there some math involved? Did you make some if-then conditions, or there was an assumption? How did you approach this problem?
It was unitary level mathematics.
Okay.
So I'll give you the example. The first site we did in India was very close from here. There was a CultFit site, and we got this first project and we didn't know how to do it. So we got one very senior guy from DLF, an architect, and we got him to do this project. And basically we were asking him, this is a 6,000 square feet site. How many painters do we need to employ for how many days? A simple question. He said that, yeah, sir, get 8 painters, 6 days is more than enough. And after 4.5, 5 days, we saw that the work is not even 30% done. We confronted the guy saying, sir, what happened? He's like, your painters are pretty poor quality. They're very lazy, lackadaisical. Okay, maybe, we don't know. Next site also this happened. And then we sort of confronted saying, sir, do you have a calculation of this painter on an average will do X square feet of paint in a day? Do you know that? No. I thought he didn't know. Then I realized nobody knows. Then we realized nobody has calculated this data. There is empirical data for productivity and all. For larger tower construction, that for this amount of tower construction, this much RMC, this much steel is required. But for a room like this, if I am painting 4,000 square feet, how many liters of paint would be consumed? If there is a data, we couldn't find it, or it was not credible enough. So we approached it as a data problem. So for the first 20-30 sites we did, we actually employed sort of intern civil engineers. He stand on site and see ki Mukesh ji ne for this hour how many meters of conduit he has put. Or if you are doing putty in 1 square meter, how many kgs of putty was consumed. So what we had to do was, from the very basic, write a MyGenie language of construction. So I'll tell you another problem. We are building same CultFit gym. One is being built in, it looks exactly the same. One is being built in Noida, one is being built in, let's say, Bangalore. Now, both the sites are getting painted. If you call the supervisor, yeah, sir, painting is happening very well. Site will be given to you in 2 days. 80% painting has been done. The other way I would also say, yeah, sir, 60% paint is done. On track, sir, don't worry, you sleep, I'll get it done. And then you realize that there is nothing called painting. You are either putting the first coat of putty or the second coat of putty, or you are doing that ghisai, sandpapering, or you're putting primer, or paint coat 1 or paint coat 2. If you're saying painting, you don't know what we are talking about.
It's not specific and transparent.
So,
what stage?
Whether I am building a Mokobara store, or whether I am building a CultFit gym, or whether I am building a UMO hospital, painting is painting. It doesn't matter who is getting me to build this. So for the first 6 to 8 months, we had to write an 8th standard kids mathematics, that if you're doing painting, then you might be doing either one of these activities. Let's say you're doing putty coat 2. If the putty required is 4,000 square feet, then for 4,000 square feet, according to this unitary method, 19 kgs of putty would be required.
Okay.
You would, if you are doing, let's say, gypsum partitions for 400 square meter, you probably need X amount of gypsum partitions. So then you realize ki this is the basic mathematics which was missing. A lot of times when I speak to people, they're like, have you used advanced AI? And I'm like, no, I'm using 8th grade mathematics. It's not that now I use advanced AI after I have built my own standardized language. Now the advanced AI models are in progress, but you couldn't have deployed anything on day one.
So this first version of the product, this eighth grade mathematics, you did a few sample projects and parallelly build this 8th grade, or how did you get your first project? Like, how did you engage them saying what? That let us do it? And then are you the interface between the contractor and the store, or you are doing it full stack?
Effectively, we grew from very, very small things. So incidentally, MyGenie did not start from India.
Okay.
We began our operations in Switzerland.
Okay.
We did some home renovation fit outs there.
Okay.
Then we moved to commercial, because every home is different, but every Mokobara outlet is the same.
Correct.
You collect data for one store. It helps you predict decisions for the second, third, and fourth store. You don't have to sort of dig the new well every time.
Yeah.
So we started doing work there. Again, no idea of, we were not looking for any sort of funding and stuff. Then slowly we expanded to Germany. Slowly we expanded to Singapore. And the idea was we will just work in cooler, richer nations. I was pretty scared of the construction in India.
Yeah.
You ask any layman who has not been involved in construction to gande logo ka.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then effectively we're doing pretty well over there. And what happened was, one of our juniors from IT Roorkee, he was visiting my co-founder in Berlin. And he was heading the expansion for CultFit gyms. And basically we got to know that CultFit is going through rapid expansion. And we started engaging, because I was anyways based in Gurgaon. They had projects. We sort of begged, and effectively there is some bit of that, I won't say colonialism, but because we had Berlin and Singapore
and all that.
So getting the store, initially the first store was not that difficult. But I would, till the end of MyGenie, be very, very thankful to CultFit, who sort of trusted us by giving us the first store. We had done renovations in Switzerland and Singapore, but not to the scale a CultFit gym was. But they really sort of laid trust on. So I thought their thought process was ki there are two very educated kids doing this, and they don't look like the ruffians, so they might not be able to steal from us.
When you got CultFit, you did what? You literally hired a full-time contracting team? How did that work? The painters, carpenters, or they were freelancers for you?
No. So we basically did for the first few projects, we did quote unquote the VC thing, where we got the project for 100 rupees and we gave it off for 95.
Okay.
Or 90 rupees. But the idea was that we'll give it off to contractor. But what happens when we'll decide and tell the contractor?
So you were project managing it?
Yes, that was the idea. Okay. And effectively, that was the time when we started operations in India. We realized India is going through massive generational expansion.
Correct.
Because we were parallelly present in Europe, Singapore, and India. And there was this day where Aman, my co-founder, was talking to the head of Adidas in Germany. And those guys were like, yeah, this year we're going to open 8 new outlets. And I was visiting an event in Mumbai, and I spoke to the head of retail of Xiaomi. And like, yeah, this year 3,500 new outlets. And you speak to Chaayos, their target is 250. You speak to CultFit, their target is 250. And every day there is a new D2C brand coming in who has to open 10 new stores. These are new founders. They're exactly as educated in opening the stores as we were when we were building the first store. And I can sort of feel their pain. So effectively, as jokingly, we call MyGenie as the Nifty 50 of D2C. If D2C as a sector does well, MyGenie will do well.
Very true. Very true. I was just going to say that. That's a crazy tailwind.
But that's what happened. So we India was expanding so fast, so rather than me relocating to Europe,
Yeah, you did.
Aman,
So let's say CultFit was your, let's call that data point number one or account number one, etc. How did that work? Because did they give you like an advance? I'm just trying to reconstruct how you got started with this, and then you had a team which you passed on the advance to. So I don't think you were blocked by capital or anything to prove this out or start this off.
oh no, we were blocked by capital.
You were blocked by
Yeah.
capital
So
because what?
effectively the idea was that in our industry you get some bit of advance, some bit of amount in the middle, but the balance amount always comes after the construction.
So working capital you had to front for the
Yes.
contractors.
Yeah, some of our seniors from
And
IT Roorkee, they
very
fronted.
interestingly, how did your 8th grade math thing pan out? I know you had data points from Switzerland
It
and
panned out
Singapore.
really badly.
Or it panned out really badly.
Yeah. So actually the panning out started after site 5 or
Oh,
10.
interesting. So what happened in the first 1, 2 sites?
So the first 1, 2 sites we did really well
Okay,
because we were very hungry to finish it on time.
understood.
We had not sort of been quote unquote corrupted by the construction mindset that if the purchase order says 60 days or in 90 days, the koi nahi pooch raha.
Interesting.
Let's start worrying. So we were just diligent in the first 3, 4 sites.
Huh.
That sort of helped. Nobody knew that. So let's say if a site is getting delivered in 90, let's say 60 days. This was one of our first, let's say 20 sites. Nobody knew the hustle which was going on for the first 20 sites. For the customer, it was always delivered on time. But as the technology bit scaled up, our sort of decision making, which me and Aman had to do on site, that kept reducing. Now it is at a point that I don't even know that this particular order has come. It is getting executed in Hyderabad. I just get to know in my WhatsApp group that the launch photos have come. So this has come pretty long.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first few sites. So when we came to India, the market was big. Then the first time investors backed us, good capital backed us, fundamental. These are construction specific VCs. They backed us. That if you are focusing on India, we'll invest.
Sure.
That time also we were new to VC world. I had no exposure previously of all these things.
Yeah.
So we thought, yeah, we'll build something scalable. We'll build a take rate business. We'll get something for 100. We give it off at 90. You make the 10 in between. You just guide and be working capital efficient.
Correct.
And then we realized that you can keep telling contractor whatever your software is saying, he'll do what he wants to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how did you fix that human problem on the ground?
So human problem on the ground got fixed is we removed the contractor from the equation.
Okay.
So very interesting to understand the contractor ecosystem in India.
Correct.
So as I mentioned, every contractor is what 3 to 4, 5 crores, which means that he is doing 30 lakhs or 15 lakhs of work on a monthly basis. So either he gets a small Xiaomi outlet or he gets a renovation at somebody's home. Somebody calls him as a subcontractor for an office like this. So effectively what happens is, this is a very small contractor. He will also not employ anybody. A contractor, people believe, would have employees on roll. These are just relationships. If I get electrical work, I'll call Rahim and his team of 5 electricians. If I get POP work, Ashok and his team of 3 POP guys is there. So these are loose relationships.
Correct.
So there is a client. Interestingly, when in Europe, this market is pretty well sort of standardized. So Adidas will never talk to a very small time, chota $250,000 a year contractor.
Correct.
They will talk to 3 big companies, Umda, Shaitab, ISG Retail. These are all billion-dollar companies. So if you want to work with Adidas, you subcontract to them. Here, if Reliance wants to open a Xiaomi and Lulu mall, he's also struggling with a contractor who is, let's say, very hand to mouth. And same level of struggles. Now, this contractor, because he can manage only 2 projects in parallel, he will never have the visibility that I can keep people on roll. He will always have them in sort of close relationships.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, if you go to who serves this middle level contractor, these are very small 5, 4, 6 people, 2 people team, where one guy who is a natural leader will say, "Bhai, I will get work for you. I will engage with 3, 4 small contractors like this." So this is all loose relationships. So this middle contractor's main job is to get work for these smaller guys and front the working capital and pay for these guys and buy material and pay them on time. And for that, he is taking a pretty hefty margin. So we sort of started thinking this work is being done by the smaller SMEs and intermediaries. So this middle level is
what
taking
you
huge
started
amount
doing.
of money
Ah,
to badly manage everything.
correct.
So it doesn't make sense.
So you started managing that.
Yes. So we
And
effectively we are not no longer a take rate company. We are a contractor.
And you, how have you chose to engage in the relationship with the smaller guys, the two, three people, the painter, etc.? Are they on your roles? How do you work?
You don't need to keep
You
them on
don't
your
need to
roles.
keep
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
Very important to understand the psyche of the last mile labor.
Correct.
Now, effectively, if I ask you, let's say there is this electrician called Manish. What is his daily most important problem in life? Is the problem that he's getting 850 rupees for this 8-hour shift? Can he get 950 rupees somewhere? Last of his problems.
Correct. He probably wants to get paid first.
There are two problems which defines the labor problems in India. First, biggest problem, somebody should give him 30 days of work.
Correct.
That's the biggest problem. Now, what happens with these guys is, because let's say you are a small contractor, I am a labor, right? You are anyways doing one site this month. You cannot, and for this 30-day site, my piece of work is only 4 days. You as a person cannot ensure that I get 30 days of work.
Correct.
So I'll make relationships with 8-9 such contractors.
Of you, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the function I'm trying to optimize for, that somebody should give me work on this particular Tuesday of this particular March month. So effectively, that's when you hear that there are some good days where 3 contractors are calling you. So for 2 contractors, you will say, "Arey, my mom is not well," and you will try an excuse because you don't want to let go of that guy also. So the first problem which labor is trying to optimize for is somebody gives them 30 days of work, and the second is somebody pays them on time. Now, because you as a contractor in India is not able to ensure that you are not my whole and soul breadwinner, right? How will you ensure that I stick with you and I don't go anywhere? So what they do is, as I was saying, that let's say if I'm a small laborer, right, and I know that you can't, and you know that you can't give me 30 days of work, but you want me to be around forever.
Right.
How do you ensure that? So what you will do is, let's say my sort of owed money for today is 850 for that 850 rupees for that 8-hour shift. You will give me 300. You will give me just enough so that I can feed myself. I can stay at a Ren Basera or something, and you keep adding my money, and you will pay this money out to me, let's say on whenever I have my big festival, that when Chhat Puja is coming, I'll pay you all your lump sum 1 lakh in advance.
Oh, so I'll hold on to your money.
Yes.
So
That's
this cool is in a way.
Yes. So this is, I don't want to use the word, this is bonded labor.
Yeah.
This is not how labor is supposed to be. Which is why you will always see I am a labor, right? It's not that I want to meet my family, but I can only meet my family once I get the money to go and give to my family. Which is why in India, every Chhat Puja is a huge exodus of laborers from cities back to their hometowns, where their contractors negotiate and pay whatever was owed. But that's how you manage your cash flows as a smaller contractor, and you manage.
But you people like you are changing this, right? You're paying out the 850.
We did not, to be honest, set out to change this.
Okay.
So the thing is, let's say, why don't you have a continuous supply of work? Because you will do 2 projects, you will do 2 of them very badly, the client will be unhappy with you, then you have to go out and hunt for 2 new clients who you can sort of screw up their projects also, right? What happens is, with us, let's say if the sites don't get delayed, and because we are doing templatized store, we become their permanent contractors. So now we have visibility of the next 8 months as to where
like Cult Fitnesses or Chaayos you have.
So we know their annual operating plans. Annual operating plans is not a conversation brand has with a contractor. So which means if I know that there are X number of, let's say, Reliance outlets we are going to do, which means that I can guarantee that 30 days of work and timely payment to these guys.
Yeah. And you're doing this pan India, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. And so your pools of labor pan India.
Labor is almost always North Indian, which travels to every other place.
So even when you have projects, you send labor from here.
That's how it was happening before MyGenie also. Right?
Got it.
So effectively, with us, many VCs ask us, what's your supply strategy? How do you have a hub and spoke model in Bangalore if you are looking to cater Bangalore, Mysore, and all those areas? And I'm like, I don't need to build a supply. People will ask, do you need to give them minimum business guarantees? No, you just need to give them consistent supply of work. They will treat you as literal gods when you sort of arrive on the site. And whenever I felt that I need more labor, these guys call their friends from their villages to come. कि यहाँ पे sir, there is a company called MyGenie, इनके पास काम है, तू आजा. And that's how my labor has always matched. Rather, my supply has always sort of kept up with the demand. If I increase the supply and the demand has not kept up, the supply will disintegrate and go wherever their work is.
Got it. So
there is this one additional point I
Please,
want to sort of drive home, and which is something I have. Contractor is almost always made out to be that incompetent fellow who is not able to execute site. And this is one point I said previously, but I want to drive home. When we came to India, we thought that we'll become the Umdash of India. We'll organize an unorganized market. We'll be the take rate guy who takes a project and manages in a very cool way. And effectively, you realize that there are more than 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh contractors in India. Nobody is happy with their contractor. But the L&T might not be happy with, DMRC might not be happy with L&T, and Mokobara cannot be happy with their small contractor. All of them cannot be liars and cheats. It's physically impossible. Which means they're trying their best. They don't know how to do it. As I mentioned, even if Einstein was the contractor, he'll not be able to plan a site.
Sure.
In an optimal manner. He'll also have to revert to thumb rule and stuff.
Correct. Approximations.
Yes. So contractors need decision-making help.
And that's what MyGenie is doing, and that's what you're doing. So if
the idea here is, it's important also to understand why we are a contractor in our DNA.
Yeah, correct. Okay.
Because we need access to for primary data. If I am a SaaS company and I'm trying to solve, I'll not get any real-time data. I'll keep solving customer dashboards, great visualizations and stuff, but I'll not solve the
But you won't be able to move a site faster.
If something happens in my site's decision making, if I change some algorithm, I need to understand, is there a positive? I can't do this if I'm not a contractor.
So just to rebuild the chronology a little bit, again, for early founders that are watching, so it's very clear that you guys almost faced a personal problem. Your co-founder Berlin, the flat. We have all, some point in our life faced the contractor problem. The demand was very clear to India, and that pulled you to India. The growth of all these Cult Fitness, Mokobara, templated stores is very real. You've understood the psychology of both the labor and the contractors, etc. Once you started being trusted by Cult and all of that, and you also said that there was a little bit of a learning curve. First 2-3 projects went well. What did not go well after that, by the way?
The whole business model initially did not go well, right? It's a huge pivot.
Yeah.
And I am pretty
pivot
sure,
meaning that 95 and 5%, and then
removing the contractor and taking on that burden of contracting yourself, that you will buy the materials, you will get the labor. That's a huge shift. For the client, it does not make a difference, right?
But when you move to that model, then
everything started clicking.
It started clicking. So then it was smooth. Then that was not a different kind of a learning curve. Dealing with the labor was not difficult.
There are other problems I can come to.
Yeah.
But the main problem, let's say, if I know that if the painting work has to finish in 4 days, I need 12 laborers. Which means that these are small, mini contractors of 4 painters each. I now have the ability to deploy 3 of these contractors, which a local contractor will not.
Correct.
And I will fulfill the requirement of 12 painters, which increases the speed of execution.
So I was curious about that. Let's say, just take a random example. Let's say Cult, and you have done how many probably locations for them till now?
40.
Oh, wow.
30 to 40.
So in that time, let's say before MyGenie, and now you, especially in your new model where there's no contractor in the middle, you are the contractor. How much time compression has been there for them? And I'm guessing cost compression maybe irrelevant because you probably still charge them the same and maybe your margin's gone up, but how much time compression and accuracy compression has
So-
happened in your system?
One thing to understand in our market, that there are three variables while doing some construction. Not for every construction: time, money, quality.
Correct.
Every sort of construction industry favors one element more, right? For store openings, it's almost always speed, because you take a shop in a mall and the rental starts after, let's say, 30 days. If you are not doing business for 60 days, for a D2C company, their CAC and payback period, everything is gone for a toss.
Correct.
So speed is the most important thing.
Right.
Now, not only speed is an important thing. So for example, let's say I am CultFit. I say, please deliver the store in 60 days. Let's say their store gets delivered almost every time in 75 days, let's say. That's also not that bad of a situation. The problem is, if let's say sometimes it gets delivered in 75, but sometimes it gets delivered in 90, sometimes the contractor runs off. I would say Cult was pretty organized even before we went, but a lot of other brands, which were difficult for me to name, have faced numerous issues. So the problem is, if some of your stores, let's say 3 out of 10 stores get delivered in 120 days, some get delivered in 75 days, you will always plan for the worst case scenario. So you will always plan your salaries or the manpower you are hiring, the sales staff, after 120 days. You will start your digital marketing store launch at 120 days. So it's the mean which you have to shift, and the deviation also you have to compress. So with us, virtually all stores now, somewhere around 45 to 50 days is where we deliver.
So you must
with the
have
spread of only 3 to 4 days, which should give a brand confidence to prepone their start of sales.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, talking about your internal organizational structure a little bit, I get it. Now you are the contractor labor, but what kind of oversight you require? Like how big is the core MyGenie team? What kind of oversight you require? You must have done all of that to enforce is a wrong or strong word, but sort of enforce those decisions that your product is help making.
So every site has a MyGenie supervisor.
Okay.
That's the only person who's there on MyGenie's payroll. Every other thing. So a site is equal to material plus labor plus person who is coordinating what that material labor is going to do with that material.
Got it.
So that coordinating person is MyGenie. He has our Sathi app where he gets those instructions. Material comes on site via separate ecosystem of a procurement team, which is again working centrally. There's a supply team which sends the labors on site. This guy's job is just to ensure that things happen as to what is supposed to happen today.
Okay. So when you started hitting this 45, 50 days, when you, especially when you remove the contractor out of the equation, is that when you guys were, quote unquote, you had your product market fit moment, or you thought, abhi ye chal chuka hai, ye ab
So
theek hai?
the thing is, we were always hitting 60 days.
Okay.
Right.
Even with the contractor.
Yeah. So the idea is, I can't sort of compromise Cult's experience, right? If let's say Reliance or Mokobara is asking me to build a store, I will give it to him in 30 days. But how much human effort was going in that 30 days is getting reduced behind the scenes.
Correct.
So when we sort of raised our round, the industry bigger contractor said, "Arey, do char karoge parallel mein, and then you will get screwed." And then we started doing 2, 3, and 4 in parallel. Then people said, the moment you do 8 new stores in parallel, you have VC money right now, you have money to splurge, so you will do 8, 9, but the reality will hit you at 8, 9 stores in parallel. To be honest, it started hitting at 8, 9 stores in parallel. There was a point in time where me and Aman used to leave our house in the morning, like जैसे कफन पहन के निकलते थे कि आज तो site खत्म करा के आना है. We were standing on the sites late because a lot of construction happens in the night hours. So a lot of work had to be put in without compromising their experience. It's just that as the process and tech have scaled, and so the number of decision points we have to personally stand there and do has reduced. Client will not feel that big of a difference, but that allows us to, as of now, run 25, 30 sites in parallel.
I was
which
about
is
to ask.
10 times what was the previous industry norm.
Yeah. So 25, 30 is what runs
20,
well.
26 is the maximum number of sites we have run in parallel right now.
And a lot of that is attested due to your product automating many decisions.
For me, I would say that the way we have gone about identifying the problem of MyGenie is a pretty double-edged sword.
Okay.
I would say, because we never sort of sat down that Aman, Shivam are sitting, this looks like a huge market. Do we have enough TAM? Okay, this is enough TAM. What is the defensibility? Is there a moat we have?
No, you didn't you didn't premeditate this. Yeah.
So I will never have the problem of PMF, because when we were in Berlin, we started off by supplying painters. It's just that because we were supplying painters well, so they said, can you supply civil staff and electricians also? Can you start doing those fit outs also? So it always has been the client who has pulled us. Can you address this problem? I'm really facing this problem. And we started addressing that problem, and in retrospect we are seeing how big the company can become. So it's a rock and a hard place situation. So you can premeditate everything, pull in all the resources from VC money to team, and then in 3.5 years realize that there is no PMF.
Yeah, true. Very true.
In our case, we started day one where we knew that what we are offering as a product has a market fit for sure. Can it be profitable and scalable is what we are figuring.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about going back to the product. You mentioned 8th grade math. What, if we had to go into a few details there, what has happened in the product since, and what are the biggest unlocks in the product that help you in this physical process?
We have now built 8-9 products. These are all external use. Sometimes we let client use them as a SaaS. We don't intend on selling them as SaaS.
Okay. So your end user is using this product?
No, the end user is MyGenie. These are internal use products.
Okay.
Our product philosophy has always been two things. Is this product going to remove some sort of decision making from a human being and shift it onto machine? Second, it has been that if the software is not allowing me to sort of reduce timeline by 10% or streamline budget by 10% or allowing me to scale without new number of sites with no increase in decision making pointers, then it's a product which is well made. You can think of taking it outside. So unless it makes MyGenie successful, we'll not take it out.
Yeah. So it's not about selling or taking the product outside. What does the product unlock for you, and what does the product do? If we had to talk about, right now, you and I were going through the product now, and I was standing on the side.
What will happen is, in our industry, if I have to, let's say, start the fit out of this room. So there are 2-3 sets of documents which come. These are called GFC sets, good for construction set of drawings. So that would include the drawing, that will include a BOQ, and that will include some 3D renders and stuff. The mother document is the BOQ, wherein the brand describes what has to be done. So brand will use some language like providing and constructing a 100 mm thick block wall using this 3:1 X cement to mortar ratio and this and that. This is a complex English sort of document which comes. Mokobara will write it differently. Cult will write it differently. Reliance will write it differently. Haldiram will write it differently. But effectively, it means build a 4.5-inch wall. Right. So the first bit of technology we built, and that is very sparingly where we have used AI, is it will take all these BOQ documents. It will ingest it. It will convert it into our standardized MyGenie language of construction. So basically, these are BOQ documents written in English. It will, through its processor, convert it to the MyGenie language of construction. Then it will spit out a project plan. It will spit out a labor plan. It will spit out a material plan. And it will spit out a sequence of activities which has to be done.
Okay.
Which then, at the output, tells something called tomorrow's plan. So let's say if I'm doing a site for let's say Fitness First in Ambience Mall close by, then it will say that for 9th of March 2026, you need 4 electricians, 5 painters, 7 carpenters on
So
site.
it'll give you a scheduler also.
It'll tell you that this is, so you need to do, let's say, gypsum wall paneling today, conduiting work has to happen, the painting team has to do putty coat to in assessment room of this
Yeah.
particular site.
Yeah.
So it will give you very simple instructions like this.
Got it.
This was the problem we super hyper optimized in the last round.
Okay.
What has to be done on site should be decided by software.
And that has, how accurate has that been, and vice versa?
It has not been more than 50-60% accurate.
Oh, really? Okay, interesting.
But
But
what is important to understand that in our line of business, we are not in the business of surgery.
yes.
Anything more impactful than zero
See, yeah.
is
No,
amazing.
understood. It's exponential. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Because
So,
you would want to
so
understand,
effectively
sorry.
for us,
Huh.
sorry.
Huh.
So effectively for us, what the problem I've described is only one of the 3 big problems which is there in construction.
Huh.
So we are pretty satisfied that we've solved it to 60% level. Rather
Fair
than
enough.
taking it to 80%, there is another very big problem which needs to be solved.
Which is
That problem is that if you ask a local contractor whether you made profit or loss in this site, he'll not be able to answer.
Oh, yeah, because not
Because-
counting his procurements and
Yeah,
purchase and collections.
Let's say we are predicting that for 4,000 square feet of site, you need 29.7 liters of paint. He's not calculating. How does his day look like? What will happen is his supervisor will come to say, ki, Saab, we need to buy 5 liters of paint today. Paint is finished. He said, go. So, and the electrician will say, we need polycab 4 mm thick wires, 2 bundles. He'll make a note. He'll go to the local market. He'll procure and do. Day after tomorrow, he will come again. Sir, effectively, sir, we need 10 liters of paint again today. He'll make the list. He'll go and procure. So he's doing so much procurement and he doesn't know how much, what labor has worked. So he'll manually start maintaining the hardy log or his shift log, right? So a local contractor doesn't know whether this site, before, if I start, let's say a Mokobara outlet today, the local contractor will not know after the site has ended whether this site was in profit or in loss. So we call these businesses as cash businesses, not because of hard cash, because client will keep paying some amount, you will keep buying some material and labor, and meanwhile you'll keep paying your child's school fees.
Yeah.
But if you ask, this was a 15% gross margin site or a 20% or a minus 10%, he will have some vague idea, but he won't know. So, and this is the problem when we became contractors ourselves. This is a very big problem we faced. But in the last round, which rather till last year, we said that we'll park this problem. Let's just solve the execution problem, that none of the store's execution should falter. We'll solve this problem at a later point. Right now, the second bit of product we are solving is we are building the system where before the project starts, we can predict that based on what client is paying and based on what material we have to procure or how many shifts of labor is required. This looks like it will be 16.7% gross margin site. And then when we are on day 20 of the day 60 of execution, this projected 16.7% is right now 15.5%. And this drop of 1.2% is because the copper rates have increased or something. So we're building that predictability also in profitability and cash flow management of the...
Which is huge.
Yeah, so this is equivalently big problem of construction industry.
Yeah.
So we have solved first bit of problem till 60% accuracy, and now we have built, rather we are building learning systems.
Yeah.
So for the first few sites, when there was no AI in our system, we used to manually calculate, okay, 4,000 square feet of paint was done. Day 1, 17 hours of 17 labor did 4 shifts. Day 2, 16 labor did 5 shifts. So which means that total 4,000 square feet of paint divided by 1,700 hours of execution. This is the per hour square foot paint which was getting done.
Yeah.
Now, right now,
nobody's done this calculation before.
So right now, what we are trying to build as a learning system is, as the sites keep happening, this sort of calculation should auto correct.
By the way, tell me something, and I know there are 3 vectors here: time, money, quality. All this that will help you optimize not just time but also probably money and margins. I'm guessing your customers are more than happy just paying an amount to get the predictability and the quality. with these optimizations, does this mean that your margins over time will keep increasing?
So margins over time will significantly increase.
Yeah.
And to be honest, we are going to pass 50% of margin back to clients.
Or you're going to pass back.
Yeah.
So
The-
whatever
the
your
clients
margin
have been-
is X, your margin is X, you pass back to the
No.
clients.
So let's say contracting is considered a 10-12% margin business in our line
because
of work.
everything else is
Yeah,
material and labor.
Yeah. Material and labor is the contracting cogs,
Yeah.
to say.
No, but you're saying the margin is at 10-12%.
Yeah. So for us, it has already increased decently. We'll work towards increasing it. I'll tell you where the big difference will happen. Now, let's say you are Mokobara. You are building 6 outlets in parallel. All these 6 outlets are being built by 6 individual contractors.
Yeah.
Who individually have no buying capacity. So they
But
are all
together,
buying from their local retail shops.
Correct.
If I'm building all of them, right, what I can do is I can pool their demand.
Sure.
So in the supply chain of store building, the client is losing money because he's not able to sort of bundle his buy. The contractor is losing because he's also not able to bundle
Economies
his buy.
of scale. Yeah.
Material brands and OEMs who are making the money in the supply chain.
Correct.
The idea is, if I am building all the sites, I have much better negotiate. I would want to work with a dealer.
Correct.
At a very large scale, when we are $1 billion company, I will set up my own tile manufacturing.
Yeah, exactly.
I can import. Ply is 16% of the purchase of the site. Why do I need to buy it from Sekandarpur, Gurgaon?
Yeah.
I can direct, if I know that ply expense of MyGenie for this particular month is going to be 3 crores, I can get it directly from Assam or Kerala. Right?
Exactly.
And that's a 30-40% margin in the supply chain right then and there.
Correct.
All you need is predictability of revenue to invest and get
which you're going to have.
Which is the idea we have. If we make something, I can't tell you how thankful I've been to the clients who have been in this. I'll pass whatever. Let's say if I make 20% more, I'll give 10% to them.
Yeah.
I'll keep 10% for myself. And
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Very fascinating.
But,
amazing.
Yeah, effectively, this is a very. What I'm trying to address here is contracting or construction in India is a very mutual distrust business.
Absolutely. It's a low trust business. Yeah.
Why? You can actually keep asking whys and get good answers. If you are cult, I am your contractor. Why would you not give me money in advance? It is not going to. You are
because I don't know if the work's going to be done.
So you don't know whether if you give me 40 lakhs, will I run off with this money?
Correct.
Or even if I don't run off, I have 5 sites running in parallel. I'll take 40 lakhs from you. I'll start investing in some other site. Your work is always stuck. Right.
But if I've done 40 stores with you, then I trust you after that.
Which is where it has started reflecting in our P&L also. What happens is the distrust is mutual also. Which means that if I am working for you, till the time you pay, I'll also not put material and labor on site. I'll keep it at a bare minimum levels to give you an impression that, sir, work is happening on site. But I'm not, even without all the fancy optimization, he'll also not put in that.
Yeah. But you think those two wheels will change, no? Because there's a different kind of a vendor, and there is a different kind of a.
There are 4 D2C brands who have sort of said take 100% against advance.
Yeah.
Because, and we give them a 3% cash discount. Why? It's a great proposition for a D2C brand. Let's say you start a D2C brand. You have picked up $3 million of funding. It's lying in your current account, or you would have put it in some arbitrage fund which is giving you 8%. For your sort of P&L, whatever interest you make come below the EBITDA line. Right? You are not going to use that money. I am an audited VC funded company. I am not going to run off with your money.
Exactly.
So if you give me that 100% PO advance and I charge only 97 rupees from you,
my expense
that I will be able to work faster. Right? There is no sort of working capital on my books. But for you, 3% will reduce in 15 days of payback period reduction, which makes you a lot more.
And not to mention, I'm on a clock. So you doing the work faster means I can get to selling faster.
Yeah. So to break the cycle of mutual mistrust, I need to trust you first and deliver, and then expect that I can control my action. I can say that I will trust you, that you will pay. Thankfully, MyGenie has had $0 of bad debt in their books till now. But I hope that you will see that trust and you will start trusting us with giving more money initially.
But thanks for sharing this. Very, very insightful. And
Thanks for
thanks for
calling me.
doing this today. I enjoyed talking to you.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Hi, guys. I just wrapped up my chat with Shivam, founder of MyGenie. What a difficult business to be in from the outward. He's literally playing contractor to D2C brands and making stores in malls and what have you. But the biggest insightful thing that I learned out of this is while technology can help speed up a lot of things, he's using basic math, as he said, not even AI. It's his real understanding of the psychology of the labor, folks that want predictability, 30 days of work, and of his client, all the D2C brands that are growing and have high distrust of contractors. He's building that first trusted contractor powered by technology. But mostly, I think the real insight is the culture that he's building and bringing to the contracting world, both for the laborer and the D2C brands. Thanks for watching.